some hope to die.
By these 50 countries, differing so much in race and religion, in language and culture.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
Well, I know they're lying. They tricked me once, but they're not going to trick me twice. The time is now. Welcome back to the Professor Penn podcast. David Penn, your host. Glad to be with you as always. This is episode number 258 coming to you on Tuesday night. That's the 25th of November at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time across all the social media platforms. Today's episode is going to be jazz because our guest failed to appear today for reasons that may or may not be excusable. I don't know. So we're going to go on and do the best we can because that's what we do here. It's show business. We got to just keep on rocking. Good morning, Tanner.
Good morning.
We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's a thrill, isn't it?
It's going to be an hour long.
It's a thrill. We're going to do the best we can. You know, I was really looking forward to having this guest in today. We had two guests last week. We had Representative Mike Weiner, and we had Cha Vang.
Yeah.
And then we were going to have a guest today, which gave me 2 weeks off where I didn't have to do a script. Because actually, I put a lot of time into the solo presentations and think about what I'm going to say. And I have to tell you, I'm thinking more and more about what I'm going to say because the audience is getting bigger and I recognize that I'm having an influence and I take that very seriously. And I'm becoming quite sober about this. I'm quite sober because when you get out there and you say something that's just completely straight ahead, like citizens have rights, and somebody jumps up and says, no, they don't, we're deporting them. And then I defend citizenship, not the people, but the idea of American citizenship, and it defaults to anti-Semitism. It's getting a little serious out there on the digital highway. And so on this eve of Thanksgiving, and I do want to share with you, we are having a great show Thursday, Thanksgiving evening. We have Minister John Gapp coming in. Now, we did record it last week.
Yeah, nothing crazy has happened yet.
Oh, yeah, in the show, you're going to see me constantly going, man, are we going to actually have a Thanksgiving? And the reason why is if I wanted to screw up America and I was an evildoer, I would reverse a holiday of Thanksgiving and create an energy of dread and fear and horror to take away that moment of actual Thanksgiving. And I got up today, and I have to tell you, I had a terrible weekend.
Yeah.
Awful. I got some communications in my business life. And I do say to you, I walk by faith and not by sight. And I do say to you, be careful for nothing, which means don't be afraid. Fear is mentioned all over the philosophical text that we know as the Bible. And people, are admonished or are advised not to be afraid. And I'm going to tell you, I was afraid because the news was bad. And I thought to myself, what am I doing here in my life? For those of you that don't know me, and welcome, because there's a lot of new people coming around. Did you see how good that Unity one went?
Yeah, it started popping off.
I mean, we did this podcast with a Representative Mike Weiner last week, and it started off when we put it up on Thursday night. I thought, oh, this one's a turkey. And then I looked at it again, and the thing took off like a racehorse.
Yeah.
And all these new people came in and were, commenting, and I want to thank you, and I do try to answer your comments. But when we have all these new people, let me just share, the Professor Penn podcast is a political action strategy. Now, I do try from time to time to be entertaining, and people that watch me regularly know that occasionally I can be funny, and I would like to be funny every broadcast, but my goodness, the news is so awful, and I'm in the middle of this thing so deeply that I don't have a lot of humor about it right now. So I got this really bad news, a threat, and I'm threatened by all these different factors right now. And why would I be threatened? Well, what I'm doing here is I'm searching for truth and I'm trying to tell the truth, and I'm very active on X. And I have a pretty clear idea about what my principles are, which are not widely held, not because they're not good principles, but because I believe people are living in a stupor, a kind of a sleep that's been imposed on them through generations of very suspect education. And I'm seeing myself as an educator. Thanks, Phil Parrish, for that. Remember?
Yeah.
Don't call yourself an activist. Be an educator. It's cool, right? And I'm doing this work and I'm getting threatened. I'm getting threatened across a whole spectrum of sources. And I was anxiety ridden this weekend about it. And I default to my religious faith, or it's not religious, it's just faith. You say religion, people think, I'm defaulting to some religion.
Yeah.
Religion's like, you want to learn how to play the violin. I'm good at it. At least at one time, I was super good at it. We used to play scales. You know what a scale is?
Yeah.
Okay, so you practice scales. In the violin, you can go 3 octave scales, and you can do it and practice it in every key, and then all the different ways of practicing scales on violin. It's crazy. I mean, the name Jascha Heifetz doesn't mean anything to you, but for my generation of violin players, he was the sine qua non of being a technician. And he'd get people in a room and he'd say, okay, play me a D flat scale, 3 octaves. And, if you got it wrong, he'd just walk out of the room.
Yep.
And, this is the way it was. And you play those scales to develop the technical skill to actually perform or to play jazz, because the best jazz players have technical chops. Well, I think religion is kind of the same thing. Like we go to religious training. First of all, you got to know there's a God. There's a lot of people that come out of the blocks and they're told right out of the gate, there's no God.
Yeah.
So their brain goes to the off switch right at the beginning of the race. But we go to these religious schools and we go to these weekly services to be part of a community, to study, to learn. And then there's a certain point at which you could let that go because you know what it has to teach you. It doesn't mean that you're not a person of deep faith. It means you're a person that is not necessarily needing to play scales anymore. Very similar thing is fighting. You see a boxer train? They got a training methodology for boxers, right? You got to run. You got to lift. You got to work the heavy bag. You got to work the speed bag. You got to spar. You got to do all kinds of calisthenics. I mean, boxing is an art, the sweet science, right? But when you actually get in a fight, there's no rules. And all that training is just instinctive. It's about becoming instinctually a fighter.
It's like working those muscle memories.
Well, it's the same thing with religion, right? So you're developing this deep understanding of how things work. And people aren't going to like this, and that's the way it is. When you start out like on a bicycle wheel, the hub of the wheel doesn't matter, come in, Zoroastrian, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, New Age. I mean, it doesn't really matter, to me. It may matter to you, and that's cool. I'm not trying to argue with anybody. This is my street corner. Whatever spoke you take from the outside of the wheel towards the hub, when you get to the hub, everybody's kind of ending up in the same place. They are. Now, we're talking about over thousands of years of human intellectual and emotional evolution. But we're all going to end up, I think, with some common ideas about We're children of God. That makes me a sovereign of my own life. Kind of the Republican thing. It's interesting. Kind of similar to republicanism in its own way. Because when you're up there in that hub and you've developed that relationship with something I can't understand, which we call different things. That's a big deal with the Jewish people. They don't have any what's called graven images because, how can you capture something that's infinite? But you're a citizen sovereign because you are in touch with the majesty and divinity of your own life. You're not going to let other people rule over you. You have a relationship with the search for truth. And then once you have that, and that's power, right? You feel that power. You have to try to be kind to other people, both because you feel it and also you want to be treated kindly. So in kind of a way, it's very selfish. It sounds very selfish. Selfless. I'm going to love my neighbor as I wish to be loved. It sounds selfless.
Yeah.
It's very selfish, actually. Because who wants to be laying in their bed at night and have their neighbors come in to rob them? That's bloody. So don't rob your neighbors. Start there, right? Somebody's got to disarm first. So, this is where we're heading to at that hub. And then we have to be involved to make a quality, well-being life for everyone. The common good. The common good. We have to be involved to create the common good. That goes together. So I'm a citizen sovereign goes together with respecting other people, and I'm involved in civic life to bring about the common good. That's the hub of the deal. Of course, part of that, getting to that hub, is developing the strength and the fortitude to be able to be effective in the hub. And that means we're going to give up our bad habits because, if you don't kick your habits kick you. And they're not easy to give up, let me tell you. I still got bad habits, although I got them under management, but they're still there. And I think that's why they say once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. You got to manage it. And let's say you never did drugs or alcohol, you're never addicted to porn or whatever your addiction is. Because there are people like that. They don't get addicted.
Yeah.
You have other addictions, laziness, gluttony. I mean, there's other addictions.
Yeah.
They just kind of slip on by because the big addictions are so, I don't know, colorful, entertaining. But when someone...
Literally a cell phone.
Yeah, right. Scrolling. Well, that's the whole point of the deal.
The biggest addiction we all face.
Yes. And let's remember, this is a surveillance device. Surveillance. It's a control mechanism. We've played that many times, that Hudson Institute piece of Herman Kahn talking about the surveillance state, how they're going to create the technology. You know how many trillions went in to scientific research to create the control grid that we're all going to be living in here very soon, which is part of the thing I want to talk about tonight. But I had all this anxiety, and those of you that know me know I'm not very linear. So if you're new, got put up with it. This is the way I work. If you
I
like
try
it,
to keep them on track, guys. It doesn't always work out. So
well, particularly when
just
there's
let him
no
go.
script.
He's a loose cannon.
Today I am, because there's no script, because our guest canceled. I mean, how can you do that?
He got thrown to the lions. Sorry, David.
Well, come on. I mean, it's Thanksgiving week. I'm trying to go to seat. You know how hard I work. You hang around with me.
Yeah.
I mean, I work and I want to relax. It's the holiday.
If I didn't live close by, I'd think the man lived at this office.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, you're here a lot.
But you know what? I like work, but what I like more than work is creativity. And my business has been under huge stress, which I'm just going to take a sidebar on. Hey, guess what? Business is changing. It's been changing since COVID. This World Economic Forum, this thing's a real deal. And here's what they want, fundamentally, is a change in world economy, where it only benefits their stakeholders and all the rest of us that want to be economically self-sufficient, that want to practice economic freedom. Hey, you know what? No, we're not going to do that. Because, we don't need you people. You are, as Herman Kahn called the Black Panthers, You might remember this. Us entrepreneurs, we're sanding the gears. They don't want that. They want really big companies doing really big things, and they're just crowding out people like your host. And if they crowd me out, then I can't, operate the studio. And then the whole thing goes away, and then I'm on Social Security, and I'm taking my vaccines and going right on down the assembly line without any resistance. There's no resistance because I'm no longer a sovereign of my own life because I've given over my sovereignty to dependency, right?
Mhm.
They want me dependent. So how do they do that? They crush down on the entrepreneurial class so many different ways. Interest rates, open borders, regulatory, taxation, and they've taken the profitability away from the entrepreneur. They've just taken it away. And then a lot of people said, well, I'm going to go write software. And they thought they had that as their own.
How's
Guess
that
who's
going
doing
for
that
you?
what now? That's going to be a province of AI. So, entrepreneurship, economic sovereignty, that is the last bastion for freedom now, because the way this AI is coming, so many of us are going to lose our jobs. So if you can create value that other people will consume, that's really an important thing to focus on. And that's how the country started, a nation of shopkeepers. That's why the country is the way it is, because people came here primarily for economic sovereignty, economic freedom, which they didn't have in England and France and Germany, because those were countries that were ruled by what? Kings and queens.
Mhm.
That kind of model, all the money goes uphill and all the comes downhill. Starting to seem like the United States, right? We see that, right? We're living in the same model now. All the money's going uphill through taxation, inflation. And what's coming down on us is inflation and taxation.
Yeah.
Works both directions. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's almost like once the British in America in early history figured it all out. It's like the British more so took it as a ceasefire of ideas. We'll just wait for a little bit. We'll infiltrate you guys eventually.
Yeah, yes,
That's exactly what I think.
well, we've been talking about a lot.
Yeah.
So one of our greatest strengths, which is mostly unorganized and unrealized, is a Thanksgiving prayer. And when you see the Thanksgiving episode Thursday night, and I hope you tune in 7 o'clock Central Standard Time, I'm very concerned about negative events happening this week, because there is, in my opinion, from my street corner, a very theological battle going on. People call it good and evil. We could just say it's those that don't believe in God and those that do. And it's not, there's no rules over here, right? In the I don't believe in God camp, no rules. Over here in the God camp, we got rules. And we have hopes and dreams, and we want good feelings. And so it's very easy to reverse that. So I'm going to pray that this is a week of Thanksgiving, and where we look back at the previous year and we go, boy, there was miracles. And I had 3 miracles right after I got that bad news this weekend. I mean, I got it from multiple sources, like, really? Really? I'm going to have to deal with this now. And there's going to be more of this. Part of it is, riding with Royce, but a lot of it is just me being very frank about what I think, which is unusual. It draws negative attention when people are honest and have principles. It doesn't mean I'm right. It means I'm uncompromising in my search for truth. And I was anxiety ridden this weekend, and then trying to go back to my training, my muscle memory. But I didn't lift weights this weekend. I didn't feel like going to the club, which is really unusual. Didn't have the
Wait,
strength.
you're talking gym club.
Yeah, I didn't go and
Okay.
lift weights.
I heard going to the club. I was like, David, you go to clubs?
No.
Like-
No, I haven't done that for a while. No, that stopped. And I think that stopped in going to the clubs. Stopped in 1986.
You kept that date in your mind?
Well, I know when it stopped.
Yeah, was it when you had your kid?
Well, it's when I got sick because I was going to the clubs to play music.
Oh.
And then I said, well, I can't do that anymore.
Hmm.
So, but that's a digression. Anyhow, I start to go back into my muscle memory, as you call it, and I start to remind myself that if things fall apart, it's for a reason. If you have faith, you know there's a plan that you don't understand. I know I'm doing good things. I know that I've worked on myself for a lifetime to prepare myself for the role I'm in now, which I'm taking with a lot of sobriety. I really, and for the elected officials that tune in, my tone is changing. I'll come to that in a minute. But I really was pressured to default to my training because I take this, I don't want this to be altered because I think I'm on a plan with a mission. And I said to myself, okay, if this goes down the way I'm afraid, God's got something else for me. I know it. So why am I worrying about this? So the first miracle that happened was, we talked about you extensively. My son Jake rolled in from California
Oh, nice.
with my grandchild, my first grandchild.
Is it your first time meeting her?
First time.
Congratulations.
It
man.
was just crazy. And, I'm a little bit hesitant to give over to this kind of like moment of joy. But Mrs. Professor Penn was walking around with that baby. That was heartwarming to see that. And I'm holding them, and this baby is just perfect, right? Mom's a model. They made a beautiful kid. And that's to say the honest. Some babies are not that good looking. Just the way it is. Doesn't mean they won't be good looking downstream.
Yeah.
But this one came out like, ready for
Could be in a Pamper commercial.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I'll show you a picture afterwards. And this little kid always has a smile on her face. It's really weird. I never seen that before. She's always smiling. I'm thinking to myself, this is kind of an interesting deal. So we had a beautiful meal, and I sat there, and I got to be with my son, who's, I love him, and he's in California, so I don't get to see him that often. And that's really kind of a miracle. Just for me to have a moment of peace is kind of miraculous.
Well, it's a reminder of what life's all about, or those moments.
Well, that's another thing I want to talk about when we get to Matthew. But let's just say it was a miracle. And it was a beautiful day. And then I got up this morning, and I wasn't filled with anxiety. A better word would be dread. Dread. And I went to my email, and there was a little miracle there. And I said, and I didn't expect it. Another person would say, well, that's just life. And okay, that's cool. You want to say that from your street corner? I say, well, that's God intervening into my life, reminding me that he's got my back because I live under the shadow of the Most High. That's where I try to live, in that secret place. That's where I'm going for. I want to see if it works. It's an experiment. I'm experimenting. Someone's got to go out on point. Mm-hmm. And then you were right in the room. I got that call, and I was going, wow, really? Serious? Wow, that's great. So I had this terrible event. And then since that event, dread and anxiety that I'm trying to default to my muscle memory. And then I have back-to-back 3 things I see as miraculous that lift me up and put me in a place to say, blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for creating the light and the dark. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for creating me in your image. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for making me an American. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for making me free. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for healing the blind. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for feeding the people. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for releasing the bound. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for raising up the downtrodden. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for creating the heavens and earth. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for providing for all my needs. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for directing my path. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for my American courage. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for crowning America with glory. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for restoring strength to the weary. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for sending your only Son to die on the cross that I might be saved. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Pardon me, my King, for I have willfully transgressed. For you pardon and forgive. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds, who is gracious and ever willing to forgive. And I know there are people that are watching and listening that don't believe in God. And I'm okay with that because I'm a follower of the philosophy of republicanism. And if you look in our founding documents, it doesn't talk about Jesus Christ in the Declaration of Independence. It talks about a creator.
Yeah.
So our founding fathers already, hundreds of years ago, were aware of the multicultural nature of human life. And they didn't want to make a box that we had to check to be Americans. They were Republicans. They believed in human freedom. And human freedom is an infinite opportunity to express yourself. Because after all, we are all snowflakes, right?
Yeah.
I know this about Tanner. Tanner works with me. And at one level, he's technical. But he's also co-creating this thing with me. And he's very creative. And I got to tell you, he's a perfectionist. He is a perfectionist. He really values what he does. He pays attention to it. And I'm always telling him content. And he's moving along very methodically because he really cares about the content that he turns out. I'm going to show you something that he just did. It's a TireGet ad. So we're just going to play because we got to remember to promote the economic independence of Free People Radio. So here's something Tanner just put together for you to get you ready for the winter season. Here comes winter. In winter, good tires aren't a luxury. They're a necessity for safety. At TireGet.com, getting your winter tires is quick, easy, and priced right. With TireGet.com, you order online, install right by your house, and stay safe on the road this winter season. I think that's super cool, dude. I like that.
Thanks.
Because, I own that business, and it has been put together to give this studio, Free People Radio, a revenue stream so that it becomes economically independent. So when you buy your tires, and I'm going to tell you how this works now, there's going to be thousands of people that watch this broadcast, thousands, maybe 10,000, who knows? We don't know what goes on out there.
Maybe this one will pop off.
We just don't know.
Mike Wiener.
We don't know. Anyhow, 25% of you need tires right now. Tires last about 4 years. If you figure you're driving 15,000 miles a year, that's about normal for someone that's really driving. Tires are at 50, 60,000 miles. It's time to think about new tires. So 4 years. And of course, you don't remember where you bought your last set of tires. Who does? You don't remember what you paid for them? Who does? Because it's one of those purchases that is what we call episodic. It's not like going down to the grocery store and buying milk. TireGet is a great deal. And when I say this having been in the tire business for a very long time. I know a good deal. It's great. If you buy the lower cost tires on that website, you're going to save hundreds of dollars. We will put these tires on right by where you live. $25, dismount, mount, new valve stem, balance and disposal. That's a deal. Customer service, great. Call in. You might get to meet me. I'd love to meet you. And it's fully guaranteed because, hey, I have a relationship with you. You buy tires from me, you don't have a worry. You get all the upside if there's any downside, which does happen about 1% of the time. There is downside. We'll cover you. We got your back. But Royce says this all the time. You got to buy tires from someone. You might as well buy them from us. And that's true. So if you need tires, man, it's right now before the snow flies.
Yeah. Once the snow flies off.
Well, it's actually an issue of safety. So if you think you need tires, buy them now. And here's what you need to buy tires. You go to the sidewall of your tire. You take a picture of the sidewall. There's a size on there. It starts with a P or an LT. Take a picture. It's big. You won't miss it. Take a picture of that size and take a picture of your license plate number and go to the site or call me, and we're ready to go. We're going to get you tired up just in time to have traction in the snow. And baby, that matters.
It matters.
It does matter. Also, we're heading towards Christmas time. We have a store at Free People Radio. It's freepeopleradio.com/store. And we have knickknacks up there. I'm not saying it's Macy's, but we have a few things up there. And if you're going to spend some money to buy presents for your friends and your family, please go there and spend money there, because that also is going to fund Free People Radio and the content here. Here's one I'm kind of proud of. You see this? Just right. This is a costume, right? If you wear this, you're saying you're following Free People. I'm going to put it up again. Isn't this cool? Comes in lots of different colors. Just right. Why do we say this? We say this because, do I have that displayed? There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, why do we say just right? One of my favorite stories. Royce is riffing at this event up in Park Rapids, Minnesota, in front of 150 Republicans. And if you're a Democrat or an independent, please stay, because I'm going to be talking about this party thing very shortly. And he's riffing and he's going, man, people say we're far right. No, we're not far right. We're just right. And I want to say that if you're listening from the left, because we do have a lot of people coming in from other communities, please stay, because I'm going to surprise you. Did I surprise you when you started working here?
Yeah. Yeah. My first impression of you was, oh man, this is a very, very bubbly businessman. And the more I got to know you, yeah, I would say you are an anomaly in my life.
Yeah, well, but my point is, you thought, man, this guy's going to be out there holding the line for the Republicans. And you learned real quick that, I don't see those kind of camps.
No.
I'm searching for truth.
It was yeah.
So, what are we doing here? When I say this is a political action community, and every time I go into this, I think about Dan Schultz, who's a very important person in America right now, having reminded American citizens about civics. How does our government work? It's very simple. And I'm going to tell you, here in Minnesota, the Somalis figured it out. You know who governs? Whoever shows up, right? Hey, whoever shows up governs. So the point of the Professor Penn podcast, what I'm doing with you, if you're on the left, center, right, unaffiliated, doesn't matter. If you don't show up, then you don't get a seat at the table. This country is based on the philosophy of republicanism. Yes, if you're a Democrat, too bad. It's not based on democracy. It's based on a philosophy of republicanism. Of course, the Democrat wants to change that and have us forget that in this country, we are sovereigns of our own lives. But that is meaningless if we don't exercise our sovereignty by participating in public life. So here in Minnesota, what we're trying to do is employ all kinds of different strategies to educate and to spread the word about how we, the people, can take back this country from the oligarchy, the kleptocracy, the technocrats and the bureaucrats that rule over us with impunity. Yes, you heard me. This is not about party. Let's get this straight. Right now, for posterity, yes, I call myself a Republican Party member, and I align with the Republicans. I could align with the Democrats, and the reason why is there's no difference between them, really. If you talk about the Uni Party, it's like all-star wrestling, or what do you call that? WWE.
Yeah, WWE.
All-Star Wrestling. That's back to the 60s here in Minnesota. That's an OG from the way back. No, they script it out. I mean, and if you're really far enough up the side of the mountain, you can see the scripts really easily and clearly. Things don't happen that aren't expected very often. And when they do, they're managed away through theater. Like, bless his children and his widow, Charlie Kirk. That was not scripted for everybody. I mean, the whole media and all the politicians had a deal. But there's a way of dealing with it. Did you see how quick everything got dealt with?
Yeah.
When people get shot, on television, it's a little strange, right? But that too gets incorporated into this theater of politics.
I have a question.
Yeah.
It was JFK's assassination similar? Was it brushed under the rug so quick?
No, when presidents get shot in major cities in daylight, it did not
maybe
get.
not a president example. Martin Luther King Jr. when he
No,
was-
it stuck. In fact, the country burned to the ground.
So this one's a very odd one because it felt like 2 weeks and nobody was talking about Charlie Kirk anymore. Now it's just about Erica.
Well, he wasn't Martin Luther King or John Kennedy, first of all.
Yeah.
But second of all, our society and our culture has a great way to incorporate events and make them disappear or elevate them, as the case may be. I'm hearing people talk about that the theme song for the 2028 election is going to be "Do It for Charlie." You know what? No. We need to do it for ourselves. We don't need to incorporate anything into this but our own sovereignty. And I'm not saying forget Charlie Kirk. I'm saying you're very important to this thing. You, the people that are listening, each one of you. So what we're doing here on the broadcast is we're trying to spread a strategy and with tactics about how we, the people, can take back control of our government. Again, from kleptocrats, bureaucrats, technocrats, administrators, the oligarchy. Yes, we have a situation right now in this country of income inequality, of a disparity of opportunity that mirrors what happened in feudal times. 11% of the people in this country own 89% of the stock equities, which means 89% of the people, 11% of the people own 90% of the action. That means 89% of the people own nothing. They have no way of acquiring any kind of net worth. Because if you're not in the stock market, and I'm going to tell you, I'm not. And I'll talk about that downstream too. There's no way for you to make any money. You can't make it in real estate. The business profits have been taken out. I mean, we're being crushed by inflation and interest rates. But the people that are in the stock market, that thing just keeps going up like a rocket.
Yeah.
Okay, so those people are making brink. But the other 90% of the country is suffering. And we don't have to suffer like this. We suffer like this because the people that run the deal, and I can start naming names like the deceased Herman Kahn, they understand that they make us hate each other and hate ourselves such that we can never organize and then distract us, as you said, with these phones and drugs and alcohol and porn. And you get those things working and pretty much everybody just says, I'm busy. And then you get all these people that say, well, I got kids and someone came in. And I feel when people said this, somebody came to my YouTube and left a comment and said, I'm working so hard I don't have energy to be involved. And you know what I say to that? Pray. Pray. Pray this prayer. Blessed are you, God and King of all worlds. Thank you for restoring strength to the weary. I mean, that's just, if you say that over and over, thank you for giving me strength, as opposed to I'm tired. Thank you for giving me strength. Thank you for how we pray, what we think has a big influence on how our life is. People get stuck in the past, they get stuck in the future, they're not in the present, and they don't know how to access this energy that's all around us, which is there, the unseen world. Oh, I know how to do it because I've been taught. And I want to, so part of this broadcast is teaching people, what you think, what you say, thoughts are things and words are spells. We have to be very careful about what we think and even more careful about what we say. So I'm trying to become more careful about it because people are listening to me, and thank you for being here. But the strength issue, we can pray for strength. Not, oh, please, God, give me strength. Oh, please, God. No. Thank you for giving me strength, because whatsoever we wish for when we pray, believe you'll receive it and you shall have it. Give it a chance, like a science experiment. Like it's science. I just don't dismiss it out of hand because it didn't work for whoever. If you're on the left and you don't believe in God, don't you want to do your own research? Why are you taking somebody else's word for that? I mean, really, it's kind of an important issue, right?
Right. Yeah. No, seriously, why wouldn't you go look for it yourself?
Right. I mean, just, before you rule it out, I had a person in my life recently scream at me that they don't believe in God because their life had been so hard. And this was really devastating for me to hear this.
It's a common story. I mean, that's the story of Job.
My life's been very, very hard. My life is hard, really hard. And this broadcast is about getting you into politics. And we have all these strategies and tactics to do it. What is my goal for what I'm doing? My goal is to see everyday citizens with all of our flaws enter into the political process and elect each other, people that have unyielding courage and unbending principle to search for truth. What we have now, because we the people are not sufficiently involved in politics, we have a political culture which is populated by professionals. That's their job. They're not all bad, but if it's your job, you don't want to lose your job, do you?
Yeah.
So when we don't show up, we the people, to hold these folks accountable, who do you think's holding them accountable? Well, that'd be the money. That's correct. When we don't show up in sufficient numbers, if we don't go to the town hall meetings, if we don't meet with these people, if they're not afraid of us, they're not afraid of us. Who are they afraid of? Because clearly the legislation is not benefiting we the people. And if you're on the left and you look downtown, I've been meeting with Reverend Tim Christopher. If you look downtown, if you look at what's going on downtown here in Minnesota, there's a plethora of programs and people are shooting each other in the streets. Wait a second. If the government was doing such a good job and all these trillions were going in to fixing problems, why is the murder rate so high in the cities? Why is the health and well-being of the fellow citizens that are on programs so poor if the government loved us so much? They loved us. I mean, my God, we're all kicking in the pot, right? Trillions. I mean, why are people so friggin' stupid and so highly educated? Where is all of our ethic and moral that would allow here in Minnesota billions of dollars to disappear through fraud? I mean, what's going on? And then we're like a frog boiled in the pot. We just say, oh, this is the way it is. No, this is not the way it is. This is the way somebody wants it. We're living in a giant illusion, a scam, where all of our energy is being sucked out of us by vampires, and the legislators, the people that write the rules, they're writing the rules so the energy is getting sucked out of me. Well, they're not vampires. They're working for the vampires, what they call a familiar. Sorry, if you come on my show and you're an elected representative, I'm not being personal about this. I'm speaking in broad generalities. It's always a problem to speak in generalities.
Yeah, and if you're watching to critique us, he's not talking legitimate vampires, by the way. It's a more philosophical idea.
I hope so.
I hope someone can read that.
I hope so.
Get misclipped. This man believes in vampires.
That's funny. I got people that clip out little short.
No, I know. That's why I say that. I hear you say things like that, and I know what you're talking about, but I'm like, man, if I just clip this 30 seconds, I got a 6-year-old man talking about vampires and politics.
Well, it's 6 or 60.
60.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be a 6-year-old man. Sound like 6. Anyhow, no, they did this to Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Tucker Carlson was talking about a supernatural experience he had where he felt that he was confronted by some kind of evil energy. And Mark Levin just trashed him about it and said he deserved to be in a some kind of psychological institution. And I mean, I just look at that and hey, okay, Mark Levin. Mark, you've never had a supernatural experience. Well, that's interesting. I thought you were Jewish. The whole thing's about a supernatural experience.
Yeah.
You ask yourself this kind of question. You're a Jew, right? And you're very prominent and you're very passionate about what you believe. Let's be kind. And you're going to trash Tucker Carlson, as he calls him, because he's had a supernatural experience. But the whole essence of being Jewish is believing in supernatural experiences. So now we get down to the real story. My culture is the truth and yours is a myth. Right, Mark? You asshole? No, it doesn't work that way. They teach you that in your first year of anthropology at university. You must have missed the class. When I say my culture is the truth and yours is a myth, that is forbidden because that leads right to guess what? Genocide. It's a very short path. And what's Mark Levin's whole deal? I don't want to have another genocide. We have to defend the Jewish people in Israel. But his propaganda to take another man's spiritual experience and say he needs to be institutionalized.
Like, that's not going to bite you in the ass one
That's
day.
the fundamental cornerstone of genocide. So, we have to look at these things, and that's what it is to have a political action community. We're in action across this whole range of strategies and tactics. One is the precinct strategy, which is wherever you live in this country, there is a local, and I'm going to say it again, the Somalis have figured this out here in Minneapolis. All you got to do is show up and you get a seat at the table. They've done it. And you know what? I applaud that.
Yeah.
I applaud it because they are actually exercising their right as United States and Minnesota citizens. But we need to do that. We that are native born here, when you watch a group come in and in 30 years, they figure out the whole system and they almost get a socialist elected to mayor in Minneapolis. And it happened in New York.
Yeah.
Same thing, right? Hey, you know what? Quit your complaining now. I mean, you want to sit on your couch and complain that, life is going to hell in a handbasket and it's not the way it used to be. And, like I go to these deals and let's deport all these people and all. Hey, you know what? What's much more simpler than complaining is doing something. And if you're the kind of person that likes to sit home, that's why I talked about what's going through your mind. America sucks. America sucks. America sucks. I mean, that's what we're really saying. Everything's bad. We hate our fellow citizens. This negative feedback loop they have us caught in. We're not caught there. I just had my first granddaughter in my arms yesterday.
Yeah.
She had a smile on her face. She's perfect looking. I mean, like, what'd you say? Like a sharp
Pamper.
A pamper. She
baby.
could do it. Seriously. And she's smiling and she's totally cool. I mean, she's not programmed to do anything. She's just smiling. Can't move. She's 3 months old. I mean, all she can do is stick her fingers in her mouth. That would be the start of the search for truth. And if you get that one, you get it because you got a kid. Anyhow, my point is, we are made to think the way we think. So how are we going to change stuff? Not by being negative. It doesn't matter what your problem is. Overweight, arthritis, cancer, heart disease,
Relationship problems.
money problems. It doesn't matter what the problem is. I look at what I'm saying to myself. That's what I was doing this weekend. Man, this is the end. Makes me think of that James Bond song with Adele. This is the end. I'm thinking, man, this is the end. And then I go, wait a second. Wait. God has a plan. And if you know what I'm thinking? If God's plan is it's my end, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to go with it because I'm doing everything I can. I can't do any more. You just said I'm always here.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything I can. I can't do any more. Yeah, well, you know what? I can do more. See, that's that negative thing. Yes, I can do more. Thank you, God, for letting me do more. See, that's how you make that transition from being in a box canyon to getting out of the canyon.
And kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the muscle memory. It's the same exact thought or the same exact thing, I guess, is if you're constantly thinking negative, you're always going to go that negative route. I always think of the brain like a woods. And when you're first trying to walk through it, you're going to find the path of least resistance. And the more that you walk it, it's going to be just a clear path. And if you're constantly negative, walking down that path of negativity, you're never going to go in the path that has a bunch of shrubs and fallen down trees. That is the positive route. And if you would just keep going down the positive route, eventually that positive route will be the clearest.
And that's what we got to do in politics. In politics, we have to start to think and claim a positive outcome for this great country. And that doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum you're on. I know the people that are on the left want positive outcomes. They've been demonized by the right. And if you're on the left and you think everybody on the right is a racist, homophobe, xenophobe, you're not correct. I mean, all of us want a well-being, not all of us, because we got some outliers, but most of us want good outcomes for our own family. And that's when it gets into self-interest. You know, if I'm going to have a good outcome for my family, it's got to be a good outcome for your family.
Mm.
I mean, I'm much closer to you than I am to Jeff Bezos.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And this is the political strategy of first getting our minds right, that we are going to get involved. That's the fundamental step. Now, there's many people that listen to this broadcast, they are involved. But for the rest of you, we got to get involved. Because if we don't get involved, who shows up to govern will reflect their masters. And if we, the people, are not the masters of these professional politicians, the masters they have right now will take everything from us and they will imprison us. And it's going on right now. And this goes into this new digital reality, this transition from the industrial age to the digital age. Well, you know what it is, really? It's a big control grid so that every action and thought that you and I have is either rewarded or punished, because AI is going to watch and see everything. They already are rolling out these digital IDs. I saw the TSA last week, the Transportation Safety Administration, the government.
Yeah.
They have a new program, biometric scanning to get through the airports more conveniently. Step on up. Let us scan you.
Thumbprint.
Eyes.
Retina.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
Retinals.
I was just talking to my friends too. They're they're getting mad because they're looking at my ID and I had a smile on my face. And they just recently got their IDs revamped and they're telling me that their DMVs made them do completely flat face, nothing blocking the eyes, anything. Just a completely relaxed face. And I guess put on my tinfoil hat here, I can't help but think that that's just so then they could program their systems for, tracking your eye or seeing your face on a camera somewhere. I don't
That's
know.
where we're at.
But yeah,
I mean, and this is why we, the people, have to show up. Because if we give the current political class no pushback on this, we're going to have digital IDs. This comes even from President Trump pushing this. We already have real IDs. That was from a 2005 law right after when the towers came down. Whoop, we're going to slip this in now We're all going to be digitally identified. That digital ID is going to be critical to me being able to broadcast to you. We won't be able to get on social media without a digital ID. We won't be able to bank. We won't be able to access government services, healthcare, travel. Without a digital ID, we will be excluded from social life. And then you add in this digital currency, which my own congressperson right here, Tom Emmer, is working to prevent central bank digital currency, yet we've just had the Genius Act passed, and all of the predicates are in place for digital currency. You put AI together with digital currency, and that's a ball game. That's going to be the ball game for the republic, for freedom, for privacy, self-determination. And, all we have to do is show up. All we have to do is show up to defend our citizenship. We can't leave that for other people who are elected. They're not going to defend it because they got jobs in show business. And the people that are funding their campaigns want the digital ID and the digital currency. So they're not going to go against the power. They are afraid of losing their jobs. I'm afraid of losing my job. How am I going to eat?
Yeah.
Well, if you're a professional politician, that's why they really like to get to the big game. Because when you get to the big game, all those people make tons of money. And then they're free. They go in, they're worth $113,000. And after 10 years in Congress, they're worth $27 million.
Yeah.
How did that happen? I know I can't do it. But we can show up. So the political strategy is to show up in your local neighborhood and develop relationships with your neighbors and use those relationships. And it is use. I mean, we have to be honest with each other. Now, you might make a real friend there of your neighbor, which would be great. But you want to use those relationships to go into the party process, you and your friends in your local geographic area, and take dominion over your neighborhood. Wrest control back from the professionals that are currently in control of it. Yes, they are. Like right here in SD 45. Man, I can't think of a more politically professional group of grifters than are running my local district. That's just the way it is. These are what we would call, at best, George Bush Republicans. George Bush. We're going to go back to George Bush, which is going to go into why it's so important we go in, because the coalition is broke down. So we're going to talk about, what do we do when the coalition is breaking down? Why are things so painful? We're going to get to this between now and the end of this broadcast. But we go into politics. Okay, here's another strategy. I'm promoting heavily a Spaces on X called Minnesota Speaks. It's run by Lieutenant Aldo and Minnesota Lady, two people that just jumped up and said, I'm going to start a forum for people to speak out. And there's hundreds of people showing up at this forum. You might want to check it out at 7 p.m. every Thursday night.
All right.
And I go in and I do get, and I want to thank Minnesota Lady and Lieutenant Aldo for giving me free reign there, because I think I have some street cred because of what I've been doing here at Free People. And I go in there, and here's what I say. I know you want to talk about issues. I know you want to talk about issues, and that's great. We have to talk about issues to some degree because we got a lot of people showing up for the first time. But you know what? If you want to talk about issues, there are psychologists. We're not at the issue stage. We're at the organization and action stage. If we don't organize and act right now because our coalition is falling apart, we're going to lose. And then it's going to go right back to globalism, and the imposition of this digital control grid is going to come smashing down on every one of us. And people are going to say, oh, it's conspiracy theory. Hey, you know what I say to these people that say that? Do you read the Federal Register? Go find it and read it. If you read it every day like I do, it's not a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy. You just don't know what's going on. Have you read Agenda 2030 from the United Nations? Probably not.
Nope.
If you don't know about sustainable development goals, it's just conspiracy theory. What's great about these people that are ruling over us, technocrats, bureaucrats, administrators working for kleptocrats, and oligarchs, oligarchy, kind of like monarchy. These people that are doing the deal, because there's the people, then there's the people that get elected to make rules. And who do those people work for? Whoever shows up. So when we don't show up, guess who they're working for to keep their jobs in show business? They're working for the oligarchy. And what does the oligarchy work? All your money and no problems from you. You understand what I'm telling you? Here's what they want from you. All your energy, all of it. And I mean all, from birth to death. And then don't create any problems while you're here. Be born, die. We're going to monetize that. I'm talking about the oligarchs, because you're just a piece of inventory. And don't cause any problems. Well, see, now people can still cause problems. But you get that digital ID with digital currency, I will guarantee there's going to be no street protests ever again. That'll be the end of protest. That'll be the end of noncompliance. Of course, there is another option. You take your cell phone and you throw it in a garbage can and you move out to that little piece of land you got and you self-govern.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready to do that? Grow your own food, harvest your own meat, have your own well, have your own energy, have your own heat. Are you ready for that? Because that is a viable strategy. We haven't talked about it much, but it's viable. So we got to get involved in politics by getting involved in the parties, both of them. How do we do this organization to get everybody in? Well, I have a lot of hope in this Minnesota Speaks. Minnesota Speaks could have 10,000 people attending this space. I don't think there's any limit on spaces.
I don't know X enough to know.
I don't think there's a limit. I think we could have 100,000 people. Let's start out getting 1,000. We're getting 200-300 people. It's only been around a little while. So if you're coming to Minnesota Spaces at 7 p.m. on Thursday night, bring some people with you. You'll find it if you look for it. It's Minnesota Speaks, Thursday nights, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. That is a tactic. The strategy is get people in groups where we can organize together. That's the strategy. A tactic is let's use digital means to bring thousands of people together. And it's working. In fact, there's 2 offshoot spaces that have come from this one. So we're starting to use the digital platform in a meaningful way. That is a great advance. Free People Radio is a strategy. If you support Free People Radio by buying T-shirts, buying tires, or just making a donation, we can actually advertise and promote the content that we're creating here, which is, I hope, valuable and educational. So the point of this, what you're involved in, is something that is beyond entertainment. I'd like to be entertaining. I like to deliver good information, but we're really doing this to create a citizen-led politic that, from my perspective, and I don't know if this is going to prevail, this is just me, I'd like it to be a politic about citizen well-being. I mean, if it's a policy, does it make people better, their lives better? I mean, really, does it really deliver an increase in citizen well-being? Because if it doesn't, it's a scam. And where we're at right now here in Minnesota and throughout the country, we're starting to wake up to this concept that the whole thing is a scam. Everything. I mean, everything. There's nothing we could discuss that I couldn't go on. Of course, I want to keep my spot on YouTube. But there's really no area of this that I couldn't go into and say, that's a scam. And we talk about the military and the forever wars, which we can talk about on YouTube. Doesn't stop us. The money that's getting made, I looked in the Federal Register just a week ago today. And the United States government, that'd be us. It's supposed to be us, right? Gave Israel $24 billion of military hardware.
Well, that's nice.
$24 billion. You know, 24 billion is a lot of money. You could rebuild Minneapolis. You could probably bulldoze Minneapolis and rebuild it for 24 billion. You could turn it into the Emerald City. So what we're doing is, instead of putting this money into our cities and into our people's education, and if you're a teacher and you're going to tell me, oh, we're educating, not from my perspective, you're not. Because I would teach everybody who went through school the things they taught me in the secret societies that I've been very blessed to have been part of, which was 40 years of my life. I would teach people how to be creative. I would teach them principles and values. I would train them, mind, body, and spirit. I wouldn't care so much about math and science. I would care about their well-being. And those that wanted to do math and science would then be well enough to pursue it.
Yeah.
I would make the core of the curriculum kind of like the Spartans. I know that was kind of a strange thing to say, but I like that. If you ever see the movie The 300, if you were a Spartan man, you were trained for war. And you know what? If you're trained for war, your peacefulness is a choice. If you can't do damage and you're peaceful, that's cowardice. A nation of cowards? No. We want a nation of warrior priests who choose human well-being. And when you study it from that perspective, and let me tell you, there are people right in the CIA that know this. They're warrior priests. They know that killing people and healing people is the same thing, but a little different. And when we get down to that level of education, starting in kindergarten or preschool, oh, hey, downstream 20, 30 years from now, guess what's going to happen? Our healthcare expenditure is going to go down by 50% because people's well-being is going to get enhanced. Wouldn't that be a great thing to invest in?
Yeah, wouldn't that be good for the country?
Wouldn't it? But see, somebody's dog bowl would get half emptied out when that happened. You know, there's a lot of people that make a lot of money on people being sick, but they all look so nice. Those white coats look just like priests, don't they? They got, think about it. A priest's vestments and a doctor's costume have a lot in common. It denotes that they're special. And they're white. Those lab coats are all white. I bet some of the black folk in the chat could comment on that. Why are those coats white? Man, if you think about it, if you're doing surgery and you're getting blood, that blood look a lot better on black than white.
Yeah, that is a...
That's kind of another little sidebar. We don't have time to go down that road tonight. But we're here for political action because the digital age is here. I was watching just this morning a woman on Instagram, good looking, kind of, she still had, as we say, sorry ladies, it's going to sound ugly. She had a little tread left on the tire. She was getting a little long in the tooth, but she's still good looking. She was not a young woman. She was someone that was, and she was going through this thing about this is the biggest change in human history. We're transitioning from the industrial age to the digital age. And I'm watching, I'm thinking, man, is she going to pop off with some kind of warning? No. She said, here's what you need to invest in. And she listed off all these cryptocurrencies. And she said, I want you to be positioned to profit from the new digital age. And I thought to myself, whoa, this is the Garden of Eden. Because here's Eve saying, eat the apple. You're going to be just like God. You're going to be rich and powerful with this digital technology. And I think that's what people believe. That's what they believe. That's certainly what our economic class believes, that this $38 trillion of debt, let's not worry about it because the profits are going to be so exceptional when we get all of this digital technology in place that we'll all be fine. We'll just pay it off. They're selling us that. It's a scam. What they're going to do is bankrupt it and imprison us in a digital prison. That's the real plan. Go look it up. Please don't look at me and say that I'm a conspiracy theorist. I just am burdened with the skills to actually read the legalese that is our Federal Register, and I read the bills. I read the Genius Act. Go read the Genius Act. Go. That's a good assignment for you. Probably more important than watching The Godfather. So there's some of us out here, some of you, that have been prepared for this moment because we're in a battle for humanity. And when I say humanity, I mean what it is to be a human, because they have a whole machine-human merger. I mean, this thing is so wound into people. We're already cybernetic organisms. Is that a true statement from your perspective?
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's influencing our biochemistry every time we look at it. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. So do you want, you know what? There's a lot of people your age that want this. Correct?
Yeah. There's a lot of people that have faith in it.
Oh my gosh. That's so depressing.
I'll never make the conclusion the same as the guy, but I start to I forget his name, but he's called the Unabomber. When he was talking about the
Ed Kaczynski, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. I just read his writings and I'm like, oh man, how on point he was. Like, here we go walking into exactly what he was talking about.
This has been talked about for a couple hundred years, actually.
Yeah, but I'm saying for the idea AI.
Right.
Like that whole, getting to a point where, like, yes, this technology, it's such a wild and hard thing to talk about because there are so many blessings to it. Like these cameras, this platform that I'm talking to all you people on right now. But at the same time, at what cost?
Those of you that own guns know, guns don't kill people. They don't. That's a lie. If you're on the left and you are not good with guns, you haven't spent a big portion of your life learning how to defend yourself, you just don't know. I mean, it's really about the first principles or the training of the person that wields the gun. And when we see this kind of carnage, it's not that gun. It's all of us allowing our fellow citizens to grow up in depraved circumstances without any love or any care or concern from the rest of us, as if they're the other, like Mark Levin. They need to be institutionalized in prisons. That's what you do when you get ready to clip people. You don't see them as being like you. These are American citizens. These are our brothers and sisters that are suffering. So we're going to blame it on a gun, and we're going to give them a pill. That didn't solve anything. It's just an industry. Like the gun rights and the anti-gun, that's an industry. The anti-gun people raising money to get the guns off the streets. The pro-2A people raising money to fight them. It's just an industry. The solution to the problem is the human willingness to take life. When it says, thou shalt not murder. I mean, we've just lost our way. But that doesn't mean we can't find our way, because that would be each and every one of us. Now, some of us out here are prepared for this time. And I'm going to read this, and I've read it before, and I read it because it's so potent for me personally. So do not be afraid of them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed. Listen to this. This is philosophy. We call it scripture. It's a philosophical treatise. Do not be afraid of them. Who is them? For there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed. Excuse me. Or hidden that will not be made. I choked up because I was just thinking about this from Christ's perspective. Who was he talking about when he said them? Well, he was talking about the religious hierarchy who was ruling over the people of Israel at that time. Don't be afraid of them, for there is nothing concealed that will not be disclosed. Their secrets will be disclosed. Christ was an educator. They called him rabbi. Rabbi means teacher. Or hidden that will not be made known. What I tell you in the dark, speak in the daylight, which is what we're doing at Free People Radio. What is whispered in your ear, proclaim it from the roofs. Takes some courage, doesn't it, to do that? See, we've got a courage issue here. Do not be afraid of those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, be afraid of the one who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care. There's a plan. And even the very hairs of your head are all numbered. So don't be afraid. There's that fear thing. You are worth more than many sparrows. We, the people, are worth more than sparrows. Which, of course, in certain New Age movements, they tell us that we're not.
Yeah.
Right? No, I'm going to tell you, I'm worth more than a sparrow. I'm sorry. Doesn't mean I want to kill sparrows. I'm not anti-sparrow. Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will also acknowledge before my Father in heaven. That's a contract. See, so if you don't believe in God and you're listening to this and you're thinking, I'm turning this off, slow down. Because if you are a leftist and you believe in science, do you believe in scientific inquiry? Are you going to trust that everybody that told you about God is honest and knows about it? Because aren't you the people that are saying the whole system is corrupt? And if the whole system is corrupt, wouldn't you have been lied to hide from you your true majesty as a sovereign of your own life? Isn't it possible? Don't you want to experiment? Do people want to experiment?
No, not a lot of them. I think it's because they look at the history of when the church was used for control. So then they write off in their mind that all religion has ever been made to control people. And that's why I find Jesus' story so great, because you can't say that the same for Jesus.
That's the whole point. That's why I said I didn't even know we were going to get there, kind of bringing it around the corner. I said, it's the spokes on a wheel.
Yeah.
You might enter as a Protestant, but when you get up to the hub, like me, I still pray in Hebrew. I know Hebrew. I still like reading the Hebrew Bible. But I don't want to say I transcended it. It's not something I would say I transcended. I'm just saying that it doesn't control me. I will not be controlled because I'm a sovereign of my own life. How can you have both things at one time? That's a yin-yang. Whoever acknowledges me before others, I will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before others, I will disown before my Father in heaven. And this is the part where it gets deep. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. Do not suppose that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. And see, this is the modern translation of the King James Version of the Bible, which gives us the idea that Jesus was all about forgiving everybody and all about love. Now, this scripture doesn't get a lot of airtime. I did not come to bring peace. I came with a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against her mother, a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. And you're thinking that kids don't talk to you, your parents don't talk to you, you're divorced, you're all alone, and you're a failure. No, that's a story you're hearing in your head. You may have been prepared specifically and exactly for this time, because if you have nothing to lose. That means you can enter the spiritual life of the warrior because you're free to do so. So you look at all of the broken homes and all of the broken relationships and all the tears and all the crying, and you say, well, that was a waste. Oh, no. That was preparatory school. That was training. That's how I learned to be who I am. That's how you've learned to be who you are. So this puts us in a position to actually be warriors in the search for truth. And what a time to do it. What a time to do it. The Trump coalition is fractured. Now, Tanner and I have had the good fortune of having Richard Barris on and Mark Mitchell on. Richard Barris, the People's Pundit. Mark Mitchell, the lead pollster at Rasmussen Polling. I urge all of you to follow these people on X because they are truth tellers with data. And what they're telling me is that if the next election was held today, the Republican Party would get waxed. And why is that? Well, a lot of people that don't vote Republican voted for Trump. In other words, you Republican Party officers that are listening to me and you think this is about the Republican Party, it's not. The people view both parties as completely corrupt. And they are. So it's not like they made it up. If governance was good, we wouldn't have this problem. Right here in Minnesota, billions of dollars went where and how, by who, fraud. But the fraud is everywhere. I mean, think about, we got $1 trillion budget for the military industrial complex, for the military. You think there's a little bit of slippage on $1 trillion?
Yeah.
I mean, just what we know about this stuff is mind-boggling. The whole government edifice is a giant scam. And, it just starts out with, oh, you work for the government. You must not have to work too hard. Right there. Sorry if you're a government employee, like you're an elected official. I mean, you might be working hard. Nothing would stop you from working hard. But generally speaking, not that hard. It's like you work at the university. My dad did. I watched him. 4 hours a week of class, 2 hours a week of office time. 6 hours a week he worked. Now, he worked the rest of the time sitting at home reading books and smoking cigars and having students over, but his actual punch-in clock time was 6 hours a week. He worked for the state of Minnesota. There's whole buildings where nobody comes to work because everybody's working remotely. Like, people work remotely. I know it just from my own business. When I was Tanner's age, we worked Thanksgiving week till 5 o'clock on Wednesday and went home and had the holiday. We had Friday off and we were plugged back in on Monday, full bore. But guess what's going to happen this year? It's the holiday season. Nobody's really working again until mid-January. That's what we've done to our work ethic. Now, you could say that's cool. And I wish we lived in a world where it was cool. But when you're $38 trillion in debt, it's not cool. You got to pay off, dude. We got to pay off. That means we're going to have to be productive to pay off. And with all this fraud and all this debt, all these new voters that voted for change, and let's not say they voted for Trump. If you hear you on the left, all these new people following me, I hope you're still here. They didn't vote for Trump. A lot of them didn't vote for Trump. What they voted for was a sovereign United States that had borders and was concerned about the well-being of the American citizens. The MAGA movement, for example. The vote was about not being involved in foreign wars, in foreign entanglements. And what has happened? Well, we started the Doge effort, and it kind of, where'd Doge go? Doge kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
It was an idea that started and didn't finish. President Trump's agenda is going nowhere in the Congress, except for what? Tax cuts, which only benefit that top 11%. Really, that's where the money's really going to go. And then President Trump has aligned himself with the pro-Israel lobby and actually bombed Iran. And, support for Israel in your age cohort, how's support for Israel for this?
Terrible.
Right.
Yeah.
So all these young people, and that goes all the way up to, I don't know, when do the boomers start to play in? Because the boomers are into this thing.
What's so funny too is it isn't even just the Gaza thing was like the huge push for my generation to not support Israel anymore. But I think the nail in the coffin, and it's at a point where if everything in Gaza stopped, I still think that my generation would feel that way, because we're sitting here going, all right, I can't afford a house, I can't do this, I don't have the money, I'm working all the time, but we just spent $24 billion worth of weapons over there. That's where we're just, my generation is just done. They've already tarnished any reputation they have.
And if you're like my age in the Republican Party of Minnesota, where do you think these kids are going to go? They can come in the Republican Party. That is a lie you're telling yourself. The data that's been released by Mark Mitchell and Richard Barris clearly shows that these young people, the most important cohort in the country, are going socialist because they got nothing. And Marxism is a cudgel to beat down the oligarchy. That's what it does. That's what it's there for. So we don't have this coalition together anymore. And we get these people like Dustin Gragey here, who's a big influencer on X, telling us that we can win in 2026. Well, not with the strategies we're using right now, we're not going to win. We're going to get blown out. We're a year out. And it's looking grim. Now, that's not to say President Trump couldn't change direction. In this sense, he's clearly aligned himself with the neocons. He's clearly supporting Israel at a very high level. He's clearly not dealt with a lot of the corruption and fraud in a way that the young people are satisfied. Who's been arrested? I mean, we've had a couple of indictments. I mean, people want to see, big time changes that bring an end to this kleptocracy. It's not happening yet. Well, I'm not here to defend President Trump, but I do want to say, and this is a prelude to where I'm going to go to end the broadcast. I was pretty sure that this thing was going to get out of control between the war in the Ukraine, the war in the Middle East, and in the South China Sea. Pretty sure. It's looking pretty grim. I mean, come on. It was looking grim. It was looking pretty grim. So if I was elected president and I thought, what is the greatest threat to human well-being of my fellow American citizens? I would say at the top of the list would be nuclear war. Nuclear war. So the fact that President Trump has been bragging about bringing an end to all these conflicts, and he has brought an end to these conflicts all over. Cambodia, Thailand, just recently popped up. He's got things going on in Gaza. A peace plan the United States has submitted to the UN about Gaza has been approved 13-0 with 2 abstentions. Guess who? China and Russia. But 13-0, peace plan for Gaza. I'm not saying it's a panacea. I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm not saying it's the best we can do. But what Trump is doing is he's trying to bring an end to the greatest existential threat, which is nuclear war to the well-being of American citizens. But when the government focuses on that, a lot of other things don't get done. I mean, these are just human beings, man, and they have to pray for strength every day. So I don't think the administration is getting the credit it deserves for pushing a peace agenda. That would be fundamental. And how he's getting there, I don't understand the deals he's having to cut to get everybody off the edge. I'm not in the room, so I don't know. So do I criticize President Trump for supporting the digital agenda? Yes. Am I concerned that we're not having a change in our culture at the level I'd like to see it? Yes, I am. Is the coalition fractured? Yes, it is. Okay. Strategy. tactics. First of all, to have any strategy or tactics, you have to look at what the history is to know where you are. And here's what we're saying here in Minnesota. So this is for my Minnesota activist brothers and sisters. There's a million Christians that don't vote. If we just go get these low propensity Republican voters, we're going to win. Why are they going to vote now? They've never voted. These people have been withdrawing from politics for a generation. So that's not going to work. We can try. I'm not saying we don't try. But if history is a guide to predict future outcomes, it's not going to work. We're going to go get a bunch of new voters in the city. Who's funding it? How are we going to do it? I'm going down there by myself. And now I'm finding out when I show up, the people that said they're going to help me, they're not so quick to help because maybe they got other agendas I don't understand. That's not going to work. I mean, we might get a few more votes. And if all of a sudden the Republican Party realized that Royce White is black, Mexican, and young, and they supported him, boy, maybe we could do a great job in the cities. And we're going to try to do it. But, the institutional money is going to say Royce is a racist. Royce is an anti-Semite, Royce is an anti-Semite. That's ridiculous. But, they don't want the peace agenda or the citizen sovereign agenda on the front burner. These people that are running things don't want you to know that you are the master of all you survey. They just want your vote every 2 years and then go back to being a slave. They don't want you in the process. They don't want you to be sanding their gears. So they just disincentivize you from getting involved. So what are we going to do in the cities? Probably not that much more than we've done, but we're going to work at it, at least here at Free People Radio. And why am I doing it here? I want to embarrass you, Alex Plakish, and all the rest of you people that run the party, that if one man can go into the cities, are you guys a bunch of cowards? Because that's how I think about it. You're not doing it. I thought you're all military people. Don't you have a strategy of fighting on the battlefield where we can make some gains? Why are we preaching to the choir? What kind of strategy is that? Well, I'll tell you what it is, Alex. It's a money-making strategy. The gamble strategy is to go into the cities and work on these new constituencies, or as Walter Hutzer calls them, emerging constituencies. So we have Hmong leaders on here. We have Somalian leaders on here. We have people from the city on here because we're trying to make the party pay attention to the cohorts of folks that they're not sincere about. And showing up for a photo op once every 2 years doesn't get the job done. And then young people, man, come on. Look at their financial conditions. Is there any effort at the top of the Republican Party? I mean, the Gazelkas and the Polentis and the Colemans and the Boschwiches and the Plakishes and the Bergstroms and all the people that are at the top of the funnel. Have you ever been hungry, any of you? Really? Have any of you struggled? Tanner, do you worry about the financial solvency of your family?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay, great. These people never had. How could they ever relate to you? So if we got people running the party that are so divorced from young people that they have no idea, and here's what they tell you: pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get a job. Sounds great, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. We need policies and tactics that reach out to young people that give them tangible benefits because they're looking for benefits like everybody else. So the basic coalition is fractured and the strategy traditionally will not work, the traditional strategy. And I don't see anything new coming out of any of these people. I just see the same old platitudes. I see the same old candidates. Gosh, I was at a space, Kendall Qualls. I'm not a professional politician. I've never been elected. Yeah, you lost a bunch of elections. If you would have won, you'd be a professional politician. You've been running over and over again. We're running professionals who are answering to people that have nothing to do with my experience or yours. That's on me. That's my fault. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm asking you to do it with me. Because when we show up, those politicians, they're going to answer to us because they want to keep their dog bowl and their jobs in show business. And it's only going to happen if we show up in the hundreds of thousands here in Minnesota. So Minnesota Spaces is a first step. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And here's the summary of tonight's podcast. I'm going on this Minnesota Spaces, and I'm recognizing there's a lot of people on there that are not Republicans. They're there to see what's going on. You know, there's a new constituency that can form, and here's what it is. It's all the people that recognize that the Uni Party does not represent them. And that's millions and millions of people everywhere, including here in Minnesota. I don't care if you're on the left. I don't care if you're on the right. Of course, there's going to be Republicans that are going to hear this and their heads are going to blow off. But you people aren't helping. We have to get control of the political process in this country right now, or we're going to live in a digital prison. They're going to take everything from us that we own, and we are going to be serfs. And you know, do you see serfdom in your generation where nobody has anything?
Yeah. Yeah, Klaus Schwab has been talking about it.
Right. Well, so here we are in my generation, and we got these 401ks, and we sit here and look at our digital. You know, let me tell you, you're my generation. Let's say you're worth $30 million, and you think you're somebody, that can go away overnight. Okay, overnight. 30 million bucks, you got more in common with me than you do with Elon Musk. Okay, you are just a little bit more lucky than Tanner. And you think, oh, I got it made. You don't have anything made. You're cannon fodder. And you have to organize and seek common ground with people who have nothing. And we've got to do what as Republicans? Seek the common good. And if you're listening to me on the left, I don't mean the Republican Party. I mean Republicans like the Irish Republican Army or the Republic of Mexico. The philosophy of republicanism dictates that we care about the common good and we get involved. So there's a new constituency that can form. There are people all over this country that recognize the current political class is we're working for vampires. Again, that is a metaphor. Metaphor. Because, you know, I'll tell you a funny story. Minnesota Speaks.
Yeah.
Michael Broadcorp showed up in there last Thursday night.
Really?
I saw his icon. And I thought, wow, Broadcorp is here. This is going to get interesting. Because we haven't been in the same place at the same time in a very long time.
Yeah.
And I asked him to come here to debate me. And he said he wouldn't platform me. He kind of used the Mark Levin thing. I'm crazy. I'm not going to platform crazy. I'm
Platform
crazy.
you by coming on your platform?
Because I'm crazy. It's just, right? Excuse me, not a good word. Anyhow, I thought, well, here he is. And I locked in on him. And I said, Michael, here we go, baby. And you know what he did when he saw me? Disappeared. Bye-bye. But Michael, you're still welcome to come right in. I'll come to your studio because I'm at the point now, and everybody, I want to just close with this. When we air out our dirty laundry, when we discuss honestly and openly with respect the issues that are dividing us with the understanding that the division is created solely to keep us from organizing so that we can wrest control of our governance from the oligarchs that seek to rule over us through their professional politicians. When we understand that left and right, white and black, young and old, rich and poor, we can all come together with one goal to enhance the well-being of every American citizen. And then we sit and talk about it and figure out a new way of doing it. Well, I believe it's possible. I had 3 little miracles today, and why couldn't there be a big miracle? Why couldn't we see common ground? You know, and I'm going to say that if you're gay or you're transgender, what you do in your own home, I just don't want to know about it. It's none of my business. I'm not here to legislate your personal behavior. I'll make comments about what I think is the most well-being from my perspective, but I'm not walking in your moccasins. I don't want to get caught up, in other words, to the Mary Fransons of the world that want to pound on these socially dividing issues. When we're starving to death, identity's not going to matter. Let me say this again. If we can't be economically self-sufficient as a community, it doesn't matter if I'm Jewish or if you're gay. Do those things matter if we're starving to death or we're dying? So let's get down to the basic fundamental building block of the hierarchy of needs. Safety. We need to have economic self-sufficiency in our society so that we're safe and we can create safety for our children and for the people that live with us. Let's get together on that first. And if you're on the Republican side of the football, hey, we're going to have to figure this out in a novel way. Because while we sit and hate each other over these issues, we're losing everything. Our money, our well-being, our sanity, everything, our sovereignty, everything is being lost as we tear each other apart. And I don't want to do it anymore. So I am seeking a new unity, a new constituency, a new way of talking to each other that brings us together so we can fight the real evil, which is not someone just like me who calls himself a Democrat. It's the people at the top of the funnel that have divided us and made us hate each other. Those are my enemies, not my fellow citizens. And I thank God for another Thanksgiving that has brought me the insight and has brought me the wisdom to be able to say, we're going to unify. We will unify. On that note, I want to thank you for joining. Remember, Minnesota Speaks, Thursday nights, 7 p.m. TireGet.com if you need tires. The Free People Store if you need Christmas presents. And Thursday night, God willing, a night of rest and repose. We have one of our regular and favorite guests, Minister John Gepp. Thank you very much, everyone. Be well.
Have a good night, everybody.